Good day, everyone. I'm Dr. Marisa Alejandria, the project leader for the Philippine COVID-19 Living CPG project. The COVID-19 pandemic has given us a toxic legacy of poor quality research, fueled by media hype, lax regulatory oversight, vicious partisanship in desperate search for interventions for COVID-19. How do we survive this infodemic of COVID-19 literature, misinformation, and disinformation? The Philippine COVID-19 Living CPG project was conceptualized to provide up-to-date, evidence-based recommendations on the treatment, diagnosis, infection prevention, and control of COVID-19 among adults at risk for COVID. There are three main players in the guideline development process: the steering committee, the evidence reviewers, and the multidisciplinary consensus panel of experts. The guideline development is iterative, starting with asking the right question, searching the literature, evaluating the evidence, making the recommendations, and deciding on the strength of the recommendations. In a living CPG model, the development process is optimized through regular surveillance of the literature to allow updating of the recommendations as soon as new evidence becomes available. Recommendations are prioritized and switched to the living status depending on whether it's a priority for decision-making. There is a reasonable chance that the existing recommendation changes with the emergence of new evidence, or there is a likelihood of new research evidence. We use the grade methodology in evaluating the certainty or quality of the evidence for each of the priority questions. In the grade approach, the evidence base for each intervention is rated as high, moderate, low, or very low, depending on the risk of bias assessment, methodologic quality of the trials, precision and consistency of results, directness of the evidence, and presence of publication bias. Presence of any of these factors will downgrade the quality of the evidence from a default of high quality for RCTs to moderate, low, or very low. For observational studies, the default rating is low, and in the presence of a dose-response gradient, adjustment for potential confounders, and large magnitude of effect, the rating can be upgraded to moderate or high. The consensus panel will also rate the outcomes of the interventions as critical, important but not critical, or of low importance to decision-making. Examples of critical outcomes include reduction in deaths, improved survival, prevention of hospitalization, and adverse events. Less important outcomes usually are mechanistic, such as time to viral clearance. The evidence profiles are summarized in evidence tables reflecting the risk of bias assessment, certainty of evidence, and rating of outcomes, which are then presented to the consensus panel. The next step is determining the direction and strength of the recommendations. Issues to consider include the quality of the evidence, the magnitude of benefits and harms, cost, equity, applicability, feasibility issues, values and preferences of the provider and the patient. A strong recommendation implies that the benefits of adhering to the recommendation clearly outweigh the undesirable effects of the intervention. This process is decided upon by a multidisciplinary consensus panel. The Living CPG had 6 consensus panels for each of the following group of interventions. All meetings were held virtually, and the task force generated 93 evidence summaries and 136 recommendations. All of this can be accessed in the PSMID and DOH HTAC website. Since the release of the CPG last March, more than 100,000 visits have been recorded, with the spikes in visits occurring in March and April, coinciding with the release of the recommendations. Most visits were from the NCR, Central Visayas, and Davao region. Table 2 shows the top evidence summaries downloaded from the website. Here are the highlights of the recommendations. For screening and diagnosis, RT-PCR using nasopharyngeal swab remains the diagnostic test of choice. Oropharyngeal swabs and saliva are recommended alternative specimens for RT-PCR. Rapid antigen test using nasopharyngeal swab is a recommended alternative to RT-PCR for symptomatic patients in the first week of illness, but we do not recommend saliva as a specimen for rapid antigen. For mild to moderate COVID-19, supportive care is strongly recommended. We do not recommend the use of empiric antibiotics such as azithromycin empiric anti-flu drugs such as oseltamivir, steroids, convalescent plasma, hydroxychloroquine, and lopinavir/ritonavir. For severe and critical COVID, steroids is the recommended standard of care. Tocilizumab is added to steroid for patients with elevated biomarkers and with rapid respiratory deterioration. For non-pharmacological interventions, we do not recommend the use of ionizing air filters, misting tents, and foot baths to prevent COVID-19. Lastly, we do not recommend melatonin, vitamin D, zinc, hydroxychloroquine, and ivermectin for prophylaxis against COVID-19. We are currently updating these evidence summaries and reviewing the evidence for new interventions, so watch out for the updated recommendations. Unified algorithms are also being developed to facilitate dissemination and application. Lastly, while the evidence for interventions is global, we need to localize and contextualize the recommendations into our setting. Let's go living. Thank you.